dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life, the Pisces life. Two fish living in a dream. One swimming up, one swimming downstream. The Pisces life, the Pisces life, the Pisces life, the Pisces life, the Pisces life.
Welcome to another edition of the Pisces Life Podcast, baby. We are live with the post-election Kee Kee. This is episode 144. We are in the house on the microphone. I am one of your Pisces-born co-hosts. I am just Letitia, and on the other microphone, my sis.
It is me, Kamala, ready to talk about the shenanigans that has been happening this week with this election, but we got us a winner, y'all, and I'm excited to talk about it.
I'm telling you, sis, the excitement. And you know how we do at Pisces Life listeners. We love to have good company on our show. Yes. And we are not alone tonight. The house is packed.
All the squares on the Zoom is filled.
Listen, all the squares. We could have been the Black Brady bunch up in here, okay? Let me get to the introductions. Now, some of these folks you have already heard from. We're going to go back with our very guest who came on probably first out of the bunch. We have Nurse Michelle, who has been a past Pisces Life guest. You remember her from our special COVID-19 coverage. She was on the front lines as a nurse practitioner down in the Detroit area. Say hello to the people and welcome back. We're so glad to have you. Welcome. And then on the other microphone, we have Miss Kendra Howard, who you remember is our political strategist and guru who got us together for our Blitz the Vote campaign that we had. Please give a good welcome. How are you tonight?
Good evening, everyone. I'm doing well. I hope everyone enjoyed the beautiful weather.
Yes.
It's been
Has
gorgeous.
The sun not come back around up in the Midwest? Won't he do it?
Got a little sun.
Yes. That's why it was appropriate for Sister Kamala to have that white suit on, baby. She brought summer back. She brought it back.
After Labor Day and everything.
The fashion. All right. And then rounding out our one of our other guests tonight, you also know her. Listen, y'all have blown my phone up about this next sister. Yes, your resident homegirl giving you the advice about how to get involved and keep your vote alive, counted, and definitely not disrespected. All right? Didn't she give us that hotline? Welcome back again, Sister Janita Moore with us.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be back with you all.
Listen, I had a couple of people use that hotline to report voter intimidation.
Good.
We had some problems in Michigan, okay?
That number was important.
Have mercy, have mercy. And then a new girlfriend to the show, rounding out our cast for tonight is, get ready. Fangirling, we have a notable in the house. Of a recent elected officials bringing that black girl magic to a city council near you as an at-large candidate, Patricia Spitzley.
Hello, I am so honored to be in such company with such gorgeous and powerful women. Hey, y'all.
Hey, girl, hey.
She is representing tonight all of us, honestly. Let me get this out of the way. All of us are representing ourselves tonight. Yes. This is just Black women on the microphone. We wanted to introduce ourselves, previous guests, and to honor the space. Congratulations, Ms. Pat, Councilwoman, on your achievement. Such a wonderful testament to what happens when we rise up and take that action and put our foot to it. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. I am honored. Thank you. Thank you.
But now, back to my disclaimer. We are here as ourselves, as girlfriends. Ain't nobody speaking on behalf of that J to the O to the B. It's just you and me and us too. All right? Let's get into it. First of all, the headlines.
Yes, the headlines. Come on.
I just gotta go here. At the time of this recording, let's be real clear. Mathematically, and I ain't even good at math. You know I do words. Mathematically, it is impossible impossible for the current administration to continue. Now, you know, we don't speak his name on this podcast. You know how I feel about it. The man is like Candyman. You say his name 5 times, he pop up. I don't want that in my life.
You don't want that up in here.
Don't want it up in here. But at the time of this podcast, we want you to know that our very next president, President-elect Joe Biden, has earned 75,252,157 votes from the people. And that other dude, well, he got 70,000 and some odd numbers, but it just wasn't enough. You lose.
Simple math to me says, I mean, again, I love math, and there is a hierarchy to numbers. So if you got 75 million to the 70 million, there's that arrow. Greater than. It means that it's greater than. So, I mean, I don't understand why there is a question as to the validity of the number, because in every classroom that I've been in, every teacher, shout out to Professor James for college mathematics and calculus, who taught me that 75 million is more than 70 million.
All day long.
I'm not understanding.
What about that new math, though? What about that new math?
See, I had asked my 11-year-old about that, too. I had asked him, you know, I sought counsel in my spirit. I said, come here, young man. Show me how the math adds up. And he was like old boy on CNN with the map. He was like, see, if you do this and you pull that and you do that. He was like, still, Joe Biden. It was confirmation. I'm just not understanding why we still having this conversation about it. Like, if I could understand if it was 75 million to 74 million. Come talk to me. You know, I might not have carried the one. You know what I'm saying? Something might happen, you know?
We did forget one thing. We don't have President Hillary Rodham Clinton. And in 2006, she got more votes than the man that we do not speak of. We need to remember the Electoral College. Joe Biden won this because he has enough votes in the Electoral College and he has more of the popular vote. Because Hillary got more of the votes, and I know I'm not good at math, but she got more of the votes, but her votes weren't in the right places. Joe got his votes in the right places. That's how we know this is a game over.
Listen, Kendra, we thank you for that because it brought the dominoes down. That Electoral College is a trick bag.
We still got to get rid of it.
Oh, that's a trick bag. We got to get rid of it.
Yes, I agree. We do. It should be by the popular vote, period.
Absolutely, Janita, I agree.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the vote, and I'm glad. But I'm going to have to divert from this the Electoral College is there for a reason, people. I'm disagree with y'all on that, but everything else, I agree with y'all.
That's fine.
So let's talk about this Electoral College, because I've heard both sides of this debate about why people feel like it's important, why people feel like it's not important. So Sister Pat, show us, tell us, demonstrate your opinion here. I want to know.
But before you do, let's talk about the numbers right quick.
Okay.
Currently, 293.
293.
293 for President-elect Joe Biden. And then for the other guy, 214. Now go ahead on, break it down, Sister Pat. Come on.
Notwithstanding he who shall not be named, the Electoral College, you know, it serves a great function. You know, the Founding Brothers were clear that not one state that has most of the population could dictate, you know, and run the country. The Electoral College is important because it does allow for representation. And, you know, I understand the Hillary Rodham Clinton thing. I was crying myself, and I think that was an aberration. But, you know, the Electoral College ensures that Utah or North Dakota, you know, has the same representation of larger populated states such as California and Florida. You know, they have basically a say. And so I'm open to discussion, but there has to be a way where, you know, all the states feel that they have some skin in the game. That's how the democracy has to work. They have to feel they have a skin. And if you eliminate the Electoral College and go straight by population, you've got California and maybe Texas and New York and Florida dictating who runs the country. And I don't think, like me in Michigan or somewhere else want that to happen. I know. I was not upset. I was upset with them, but that's a whole different conversation about Miami. I don't want to go there, but still,
So, Nurse Michelle, did I hear you popping in on the comment?
Well, I have a question. Out of the last 8 presidential elections, 7 of them have been won by Democrats. 2 of those Al Gore didn't become president, neither did Hillary Rodham Clinton. And with the Electoral College, it's representative, if I'm not correct, by the number of people that state has going to Congress. So the big states already have a big say in it. As a person who lived in Michigan, we got way more attention than others who lived in smaller states. We would have still gotten much more attention than a Utah, but Texas didn't get as much attention, or New York didn't get as much attention because of the Electoral College. Popular vote simply means every vote matters. It doesn't matter if you live in what state you live in. In the Electoral College, it truly is. It's not based on population, which more important. It is based on the composition of that population. So that's why I'm just like, this Electoral College is not every vote matters. It is, hey, I'm more important because a lot of my neighbors vote a different way than I do, versus states where they have all the neighbors vote the same way. And also you could see more shenanigans that could happen. Many people do not know how those who represent the Electoral College are selected.
Yep.
And they're selected by different mechanisms. They're not all the same. You could have a governor in one state do it and select those electors, and the legislature in another. So let's say in Utah, there is a Democratic governor, and she or he's like, you know what? I'm going to choose my people, and I don't care what the residents think. With a one person, one vote mechanism, we take care of that. With Electoral College, it's still not uniform.
Right.
So. No, I was very interested to hear what Miss Patricia had to say, or Miss Pat had to say about her opinion on the electoral vote and why it should or should not stay. And that's a very important, well explained of why it should still be here. Because I agree with that. I feel that if we didn't have it, there would be other places dictating, like you said, especially Texas, California, completely dictating what we all, and we all want skin in the game. We all want to have it heard, but if they could somehow find a reason to put the popular vote and those two together or something of that nature, if there was some way to make it seem more fair when somebody has been outvoted by 3 million, 5 million, like we said with Hillary Clinton, as would be an example of how we could even bring that to an even playing ground, do another mathematical calculation. I don't know of how to make it seem more fair. And maybe I just don't think it was fair because that's who I wanted at that time too. So I guess that also is hard to say because I have a bias to that situation. I believe that, and I think that I believe that to the lay person who is not well educated in how it works, it's very confusing. To the average person, we honestly don't know how it works all the way. We have an idea of how it works, and of course we want to believe that every vote matters. As this election, honestly, I felt like was the first time where we felt like every vote has counted and mattered. Historically, prior to this, I don't know that I could say that we all felt that way, and it is because of that. And I think that moving forward, it's going to be very important to educate the lay person on how exactly this works, why this matters, and again, getting out early in position to vote for the right people to put in to understand how this whole structure works. I mean, politics in its own is a whole specialty in understanding of what it is. To most of us, don't understand all the ins and outs of it, and that's what makes it so confusing and so overwhelming at times, honestly.
The education of voters, I really think made the difference this time.
I agree.
I really think that the education of people and getting them to understand the importance of it and owning the importance of it. There were a few people who I was seeing online, different chitter and chatter, with folks that were saying, one of the gentlemen, I think he was in Florida, it was the first time voting in 30 years. He had been a felon, and this was his first time voting. I still tear up thinking about the joy on that man's face to cast his vote. And this time, when they came back to him, he said, I helped make that happen. I am a productive member of society, and I made a positive contribution. That is what these moments were about. So let me get in here. Janita, I want to ask you a question about a couple of things relating to Michigan specifically. When we were in this space of counting, and let's be real, it has been documented, said, and we sure enough gonna say it here. Black women did this, and you're welcome. Black women in Detroit specifically, Black women in Atlanta, Black people in Detroit. Very well, very well. I'll stand corrected on this. Black people in these cities of Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia,
as good old Omaha, because remember we split the Nebraska.
Okay. And a shout out to our indigenous brothers and sisters, the Lakota tribe, the South Dakota Indians, the Potawatomi Indians in Michigan. Come on through. We got united up in this mug right quick. We really sent a very clear signal across the world that this is our house. And honey, we let this demon in here. They did. I ain't do that. They did. But we sure enough gonna get them out. Which brings me to my question for you. In that space of knowing that Detroit was being watched like that, what did it feel like for you? You're a native Detroiter. You've been in that space, and you've also held, full disclosure, Janita, Kendra, and myself all worked in the legislature at the same time. They've been my friends since, when we first moved here. So that's how we all know each other. But what was your feeling, Janita, as a native Detroiter?
As a native Detroiter, I had a great sense of pride, but I was also upset because once again, Michigan underestimates the city and the power of the people of Detroit. And I'm tired of you thinking that we all cracked out. We still welfare clean. And everybody living off your tax dollar. We are doing phenomenal things in the great city of Detroit.
That's right.
And so that's what bothers me the most. You have the folks that still live in the shed up north that still are blinded by the fact that they think Detroit is this capital of crime. And so I felt a great sense of pride that's showing that once again, we need to show you who you really are, and you need to accept it. Understand that we are a powerful, a very intelligent group of people, and you cannot continue to underestimate us. So I feel bad that under the circumstances, how the elections have to be monitored, and we still need to work on some of that stuff as it pertains to overall how it's run. But I have to say, considering the circumstances, Detroit showed up and showed out.
All the way.
And so I am very proud of my city. I'm always going to represent Detroit, even in my area that I live in now. But I was a happy camper, and I just really wish the world knew what I've always known all of my life. That we are
that was beautiful.
Gem. We are a gem. And everything started here in Detroit. You better recognize the auto capital of the world. Your car comes from here.
Indeed.
Your music, the sound, it originated in the city of Detroit. And so I think a lot of people just take certain things for granted. And so that was a very, very proud moment for me. I wanted to run down. I was like, oh, why am I still not living there? So I could have added to the contribution.
Right, which speaks to our next question. What were you doing when the announcement came down that we have a president-elect and a vice presidential-elect? What were you doing? Where were you at? Who were you around? What did you say? I'll start with Kendra.
Well, I was laying in bed because I haven't been sleeping well the last couple of days. So the information came in, I think around noon. And of course, because I haven't been sleeping very well, I triple checked on different reputable organizations because I didn't want to be, get my little hopes up that it actually indeed occurred. My cousin turned 60 in Philly and I texted her first. I was like, is this real? And she said, yes. Philly did come out because she was concerned that Philly wasn't going to act right. And I was blown away. I mean, I was like, this is finally going to be over. In Michigan, the weather was so great. I looked out, I was like, this is wrong. There should be snow on the ground. We waited so long. Again, I was very just tired because of what has been going on in the last week. So I was by myself, safely quarantining, I like to add.
No quarantine boo.
No quarantine boo to watch the election.
No. I was getting ready to go watch the Michigan State game, which I was like, this is gonna go too well. So I turned it off because it went well last week beating Michigan. But I was overjoyed. I am a second generation Catholic. And the first thing I thought of was a song. Even though I'm Catholic, I come from a strong AME background. When I was born, I had 7 AME pastors, and there was a church in South Carolina named after my great grandfather's brother.
I never knew that, Kendra.
Yeah. In fact, when the shooting happened in South Carolina, the first thing I thought of is not Mother AME.
Yeah.
I thought of the Howard AME church that fed into Mother AME church. Anyways, so I thought of the song "Oh Happy Day," and it's not the refrain because there's a sentence that goes in the middle of the song. Because I'm not gonna sing, I'm not gonna scare everybody like that. We have a language policy, and all of y'all would hear my voice and be sad. To watch something and pray. Of course, I can't think of the next line. If people don't know the song, if you didn't hear it in church growing up, you might have remembered it from Sister Act.
Sister Act, right.
Right.
Sung that song, didn't he?
To watch. Oh my! I can't believe this. I'm gonna look this up. When somebody else is gonna answer the question, I'm gonna look up that line because it was really good. Because I thought about it, like to watch and the last part and to pray. What did you say, Janita?
Is it walk right? Wait. He's on
Here she goes.
He has a beautiful voice.
Again, I'm Catholic, so
is it walk right and pray? Walk right. See, I gotta look it up too. I'm just like, as I was singing it, but
we gonna get the lyrics. We gonna go to lyrics.com and
right. We gonna get.
I was singing. I was like, because we all remix in the church. So
absolutely. What about you, Miss Pat? What were you doing? Where were you at? What did you say?
Well, I'm in Pensacola, Florida right now. We have property down here, and we're doing a little hurricane cleanup. And my dad died last year, and so he's a veteran. So we're down here to honor him for Veterans Day. So me and my sister and my mom, we've been watching this stuff faithfully. We haven't taken our eyes off CNN. And then we decided to mop the kitchen floor and wash some dishes. Turned our backs, and my mother goes, "Look." Turned around, and all of a sudden it was over. And we had been watching faithfully all day. The moment we turned our backs, it happened. But I think that I was so thankful. I think that's the word I'm going to use, is because for me, it did seem like a brand new day. So Kendra, you thought of a spiritual. I thought of the Wiz. Can you feel a brand new day? Okay.
Yes.
The week before.
That's where I was. And just thinking, and hopeful that, we can get past, all of this and move forward. But I was also sad. It was really sad that there's still, portions of America, they're just acting ugly, right? And that we have he who shall not be named is acting ugly, not, recognizing what's going on. I realize it's not required, but he'll be the first sitting president in modern history to not, have a concession or not concede. What does that say for America? So I was overjoyed and I was happy for the future, but I was just sad because he's still, throwing out the divisiveness, the hate, and it's going to take a while for us to get past that. And he could help. He could say a few words that help, and he's incapable of doing that. So I'm going to pray for him, and that's I'm serious because I just don't know what else to do. I'm tired of being mad at him. Because it takes too much of my energy. It takes. So I'm gonna try prayer. I'm gonna try prayer because I don't know what else to do. And I'm gonna pray for, President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris. I mean, I'm gonna pray for them too. I'm gonna pray for success and pray that they can heal the country and move forward. So, but I'm down here in Florida doing my thing and doing work and cutting, monitoring people cut trees and stuff. And I turn my back and then he get elected behind my back. I don't know.
What about you, sis? What was you doing? Where were you?
Listen, I'm telling you, I was like Sister Pat over here. I was glued to the TV. I was delirious with sleep at one point. I mean, I had woke up and just say, what's the number? And I said, dang, the number is still 253. I thought my TV had got froze. I said, what is going on here? But I stayed up all night. Some of you Pisces Life listeners and those of you here who are here, I used to be in the newsroom back in the day. And so election night, when you're covering the race, it is nonstop adrenaline. And I think for me, I still get that energy. And when we've been legislative aides and we, in our various other titles and all of that stuff, you are up when you trying to hope that your representative get that seat. And when you trying to hope that your people retain power or snatch that power on back, so I was sitting on the side of the bed contemplating what else I could be doing with my life. There were dishes in the sink. There was a few half-eaten snacks because my stomach got the bubble guts. I had to retreat into the bathroom a few moments. I went from the kitchen to the in my living room. I keep the gospel TV playing. I had to go in and out of praise and worship. I was sitting on the side of the bed, and all of a sudden, I leaned over on the remote and the volume started going up. I tell you, it was God. It was God in here. The volume started going up loud and I heard them say, we are ready, key alert, key alert. I was sitting right here on my bed when it happened. The very first person I called is somebody I adore. We've already disclosed this. I do know Nurse Michelle from another life. And she was one of the first persons that I called and shared my tears with. That moment right there, first of all, the delirium of, I can sleep, thank you, Jesus, because I'm tired. I couldn't do one more night. I was just going to catch the highlights. I couldn't do one more night. But I was also relieved because I felt, as Nurse Michelle has said, number one, I felt like I made that happen. I broke the back of hate. I put a lash on that mother. That mother goose got a whoop from me. I felt good about that. And I also felt good about the fact I'm an auntie in the village. And I know that our respective lives, some of us are parents, others of us are aunties as well, and mothers and co-mothering and all of that stuff. But for that moment, I reached out to the nieces in my life and I said, you tell them you can do it. Somebody who looks like you, who come from people like you, has done that thing. And let me tell you something, that door is open now. Now, if we got to kick that thing back in, we know what boot to wear now. Okay? If we got to kick it back in, we know it's going to take about 15 of us. And if we rush it, that mug will get back open. If it takes 75 million of us, it'll get back open.
Right.
So that moment, sitting in my bed, I was happy. When Obama won, I called my daddy, and for a second, And he's been gone for a minute. I picked up that phone. He's still locked in my phone. Like it is what it is. For
I did too.
I picked up that phone and I was like, nope. And then I called Nurse Michelle. I said, let me share this moment with somebody. That's the thing that pisses me off about Rona, y'all. She stole the watch party. Girls, haven't we been to some good watch parties? Ooh, oh my, epic.
Good watch parties. Nurse Michelle, since you was on the other receiving end of that phone call.
Part of that story. My bad.
We definitely shared tears together. It was a beautiful moment. I mean, to see America come out and show out the way that we did was, it pulled at our heartstrings. It was beautiful. It let everybody, we are not having this. We are not taking it. We are not sitting down and taking it. And it made us finally feel, after years, our voices matter. And what we have to say counts, and what we have to, and we're not having this ish. Bottom line, like that's what it is. We're not having it. And the people spoke to what we are not having. And I think that it was such a beautiful day. We all woke up, like even after Letitia and I talked, it just immediately felt lighter. It was like, wow, we did this, you guys. We overturned him. We got him out of there. No matter what, and it felt like in a country so divided. In that moment, it felt so united. Where it's like, gosh, there are other people than just us 6 here that are on the screen that feel the way that we feel. We're tired. We don't want this anymore. And look what we did. It was honestly, it's one of the best feelings. Well, obviously the best feeling in 2020. I mean, let's be real.
Definitely. Kudos.
This is a cherry topper for 2020. We overturned him. Like, we got him out of there. And thank God. And it just, I'm still feeling all the feels from it, because it is amazing. To see the hard work that everybody behind the scenes put in, all those robocalls, all those texting, all those going out on the field. They worked an amazing job. We have people that voted for the first time ever. There's many people, LeBron James's mom, he said that this is the first time my mom's ever voted all this time. I work in the healthcare field. There are a lot of Middle Eastern families that are immigrants here, whatever. A lot of them were like, this is the first time my mom or my wife has ever even registered to vote, because we're not having this anymore. We can't take this. It's not. So a huge amount of, surprisingly, to my surprise, and first time voters that were not young, that are older, who have been here, or who even, like, I was shocked about when LeBron James said that about even his mother, who's born and raised here, never voted. And so I think that it just showed, don't mess with us. We are done. We are tired. That is so right. And the numbers were a little shocked. It's a representation of how divided this country really is still, though. That's the scarier part. But one of the things I really liked is I love John Kasich. I think he is a great middle of the roader. And most of the country is not far left or far right. We're a little to the left or a little to the right. And we need somebody who brings all of us together, instead of somebody being so divisive like this man was. Power to us for just coming together and getting it done as the American people, for real. And I definitely think that the Black, brown, and minorities have come out. We're not having it. And we stood together, and we should all be so proud and still feel all the feels that we feel.
Sister Janita, you said you wish you were in Detroit. What were you doing?
Okay, let me tell you. Yeah, you know me. I had committee because the legislature decided they had a hearing on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. So what was I doing? Watching a hearing, because they're trying to subpoena folks. And so I'm trying to keep up with and I'm texting with my coworkers, and we trying to figure out what they doing, what really, and why, and are you really believing these conspiracy theories? And I can't believe that you all believe we having an Olivia Pope moment here, and a voting machine in the little county has caused issues, and now you think all Michigan voting systems is corrupt. Okay, so I'm watching that, and so my phones, they buzzing, both of them, my work phone, and I'm like, what is this? The AP alert. And so as we're texting, I said, oh my goodness, they just said Joe Biden is the president-elect. So I hurry up and run now to turn on the TV, because I didn't even turn the TV on or anything because my mind was focused on that committee hearing. And so to see that, and I'm just standing there and I'm like, is this really real? Like, really, did we really make it past 270? And so I'm like, I'm standing there in disbelief until I'm watching everybody was like, we will now switch and we will say it's President-elect Joe Biden. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is really true. So of course, you know, like everybody else, you're taking pictures of your TV because I was like, I need to capture this moment. Because I'm sorry, I'm an MSNBC junkie, and because I love me some Joy. And so that's my girl. So, and Rachel. So I had to make sure that I had my moment in history. So I was a little bummed that I couldn't like see it in real time. Like I had to get the news alert versus being able to, because I've been watching TV for 5 days. So straight just constantly, because I am a junkie when it comes to this. I am like this, I live and breathe. I've turned into my aunt. I remember when I was a child and she will watch CNN all the time. And would just be like, baby, the news says such and such. And I have become her. I'm the new. If they tell me something in Boston, I'm calling my cousin. Did you see that in Boston? Now they said that the right. So for me to miss that moment and have to get a news alert, but I was still excited. And then it was just a proud moment for me because I just felt like all the glass just fell to the ground. I felt like at that moment,
that's right,
we have shattered the ceiling because it got a million cracks.
Sure was. I looked at the weather across the country.
But at that moment, we just felt like we can accomplish anything. In my lifetime, I've gotten a chance to see a Black president and a Black vice president. And so you cannot tell me as a Black, there's nothing you can say to me right now. You can't tell me anything about what I am capable of doing. What my cousins and goddaughters, because I don't have how many children, what they're capable of. But you cannot tell me. My brown skin matters. And for a moment at this point, I was like, America finally sees this, that we still matter. And our vote mattered. And it was because I feel like, once again, we had on our Supergirl cape because we saved America. I'm sorry, but I feel like we saved America. And so that was my moment. Yes, that was my moment for me at this time. And I feel like, I don't want to bring this out, I don't know where anybody's faith or where they believe, but I just felt like God made a way.
Right.
The weather was nice across the country. He opened up a way. There was no reason. I don't care where you live. You had no excuse if you had to actually go out to either wherever your voting system is in your state, if you had to be out there in this pandemic. And I felt like it was a covering on the people to keep them safe during this time. Because if you notice, we weren't talking about no numbers, and our statistics was horrible in Michigan, but we weren't talking about those COVID numbers. I just felt like people were safe at that moment to be able to exercise their vote and to finally see it all come into play. And it was still a beautiful day when it was announced. That's how I felt like he was just in the midst of it all. And that all of our prayers were just answered at that moment. And so I know, although we got some folks out there that was praying the wrong thing, but I felt like those that just truly trust and believe, he made a way. And it's just been a beautiful day. I'm still singing Oh Happy Day. That's still in my spirit. I'm going to sing it every day, the Wiz version and the spiritual version. It was Hawkins version. But that was my moment for me, far as knowing that announcement and then into all the events afterwards. And even having to deal with the little Trump rally that was going on when it was announced right there at State Capitol.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that, Janita. Kai, before we move on, I wanted to say, because I just turned 50 and I know my mind isn't as sharp as it used to be. But I actually looked up the line I wanted to reference. Happy Day, and I knew it was really important. That line is this: he taught me how to watch, fight, and pray. And I think that's what we did in 4 years. Because I knew, I was like, this line is good. So we had to watch the madness of putting children in cages They're losing them like socks, and we still don't know where they are, to fight we don't have the time or the energy of all the things we had to fight during this administration. And then, I'm going to go back to what Janita said, we had to pray. And I had to show this, because again, I said, nobody can see this, that I'm Catholic. And I felt terrible, is that I had my mother died in 1994, and I had her rosary, and I was praying with it. And one day it just like shattered.
Wow.
I mean, that thing, it just, and I felt horrible. I was like, and I was praying about Trump, and I was like, okay, even God wants Trump. I mean, my poor little rosary fell apart. Then I found this little rosary. I mean, it's pink and green. 2 days later, Kamala was announced to be the vice presidential pick. And quite frankly, I thought it was going to be another Black woman who wasn't a member of the organization. I was convinced my little pink and green rosary is what we did. And what I just did is, I know my little Hail Mary so fast with this thing, but I looked my little pink and green rosary. And I'm glad Janita also mentioned about in Michigan how we had a Trump rally. What I did is we have a Black-owned business downtown Lansing that's a juice place. And you get a little discount if you bring back your little juice bottles.
Juice, they doing that?
Yeah, Janita.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, Janita, you need to know about that. So if you have old juice bottles, you can go in there and they'll give you a discount on your fresh juice. So I was like, you know what? It's a great day. I'm going to go down and support a Black business. I was driving. I saw all that Trump stuff. I said, oh, no, sister, you get my money another day. I am not.
No to the juice today.
The Trump rally. It was so... It was so overwhelming, and I felt bad for her because, if all those little Trumpers, let's say they wanted to get some fresh, good juice.
They don't seem like the type.
And they walked in there as a Black person, I would be like, I felt sorry for her, but I also felt bad that I wasn't going to support her business. But honestly, I was like, oh, that's right. I didn't even know what they were. I saw 3 Trump flags and people jumping up and down.
Not going.
Slow down.
Not today.
We lost you.
Not today.
You got excited.
But that was my point about he had an opportunity. He has an opportunity as a sitting president to be a part of the healing, to assist in coming together. But instead, he's still spreading lies. And I'm not even going to call them untruths or misrepresentations. He's spreading lies. And so what he's still doing is spreading that hate and that dissension and the division, so that these people are believing that we're stealing an election, that we are doing something that's so un-American that I can't even, speak about it. Yeah, it's not even possible. And so it's sad that we're there. And it's really sad that the leader of the free world, because he is the one doing this while he's on his golf course that most Americans and the people that support him can't even afford to golf at. Okay.
Or don't know how
to. And they're supporting him and believing the lies that he's spreading.
It's sad on so many occasions, and I think that Letitia has a question coming up. I want to share that I was practicing my TikTok moves for when they announced Joe Biden as the winner. So I was getting my moves together, and then Letitia sent me a text, and she was like, "We won, sis, we won," and I couldn't even hold my phone good. I was fumbling trying to get to unmute the TV because I typically don't watch the news because I already have trouble sleeping anyway. And so, with the light and just the information that's shared, I just try not to watch it. But I did dive in on Thursday because I was like, this gotta be over soon. And then I couldn't turn away. So the TV's just been on constantly as I've been watching the numbers tick, 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 tick. And so the first thing that I did was I texted my husband and was like, Biden won. And he had no idea either. He's like, really? It's over? And then we started playing a song. We have a song, me and my husband both are artists, and we have a song called Be. And the lyrics go, in a world full of negativity, they say you can't be. There are so many opportunities. Don't be afraid to succeed. you can have everything you want in life. Don't let obstacles change your way. You can win if you're willing to sacrifice. What you build, no one can take away. And these votes that we put in our boxes, in our envelopes, in our push button, if you voted in public, nobody can take that away. Despite and in spite, and since it's added to the dictionary, irregardless of what the president, our current president says, your vote mattered. It mattered even in the system of Electoral College. We needed those votes in order to ensure that the electorates were going to be able to cast the vote in the way that we needed it to go. And so what Kamala has said consistently, and what even President-elect Biden has said, is that in the face of opposition, if we gather ourselves together, we can move that mountain. We can push that needle in the right direction. We still have a large mountain to climb because, again, they were neck and neck for a little bit of time, which shows that there are still people who believe that us being together and us working on our democracy's sake should not be. There are people who still believe that the votes that we fought so hard to cast, the fact that we have to keep renewing the Voting Act's right so that Black folk and women and others are allowed to cast their vote legally, the fact that that is still even happening shows that we still have some way to go. And so I saw myself in this election, and this is the reason why we decided to do the Blitz the Vote episodes, because we felt like there was an opportunity for us to use our voice. And if one more person decided to get up and go out with a mask on, because we believe in mask wearing over here, to cast their vote because they listened to our episode and they giggled at me and Letitia talking about whatever we was talking about, then we feel like that we did our job. And it's going to take all of us to continue in that road, in that manner. All of us are not going to be out here demonstrating. Like, that ain't my ministry. God didn't give that to me. He did not get, but there are ways in the spaces of our own life and network that we can be a beacon of light. And I think that it's time for the people to stand up. And we got to be courageous in a way that we probably never thought we needed to be before. But now that we have a world that seems to be, at least on the surface, more open to talking about inequity and inequality and systemic racism and injustice, like, we have to take advantage of this time now. The president, the current president, who continues to remain nameless, that should be the name of this episode, the Kee Kee episode, to the remaining nameless. We have to acknowledge that there were people who were still consuming that hate, that divisiveness, that rhetoric, that racism. And I said in a speech last week, it's easy to change someone's mind. It is harder to change someone's heart. And if you are voting with the thought that you are better than me, better than these bad sisters sitting here in the Brady Square, we got to fight that. You know what I mean? That's not just saying, hey, we're nice, like us. That is a demon. That is a belief system that's going to require edification. You know what I mean? So we have to figure that out. We have to figure that out, and we have to make accountability.
We got to call people out. We have to have those them conversations. That's my well, as always being that person, that one black sister in the room, and always everything I do. I know you all can relate to me. We it's time to make people uncomfortable. And so I've learned that if we gonna have a true conversation, we got to make you uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable with this conversation so that we can start learning from each other. Because a lot of people don't even understand why they hold a prejudice. They have it because their family had it, this, that, and they don't even know. Oh, because they got it from the crazy man. So it's a point of us. We have to now push the pushback. We have for so long. We want to really hold true to our Christian principle. We want to, you turn the other cheek, and we give that 70 times 7 forgiveness. Instead of having to be bold and it be like, look, we're going to have to take the words of Peter. And sometimes he had some harsh words to say in order to make a difference. And I think that it's time for us to start having these uncomfortable conversations. That's what I love about like the Gen Xers and the millennial generation. They tell you how they feel. Now, sometimes they get on your nerve. But they do. Right. They tell you how they feel. They tell you what they're not going to take and what you need to do to correct it. And we need to just start pushing back like that. We grew up at a time where, you got to be respectful. We got to be polite and things of that nature. And this time we still can be respectful. I don't have to disrespect you just because I disagree with you, but I need you to understand where I'm coming from and not to, you got to learn how to show empathy. And a lot of people don't do that. And I think that is what's hurting us because this election showed us it's still 71 million people that hold racism in their hearts or they condone it. I'm not going to even say that you are one, but you condoned it. You condone it. You think that is acceptable. And so we got to have a conversation. That's just me. Huh?
But that's not your litmus test. That's not your litmus test. Abortion is more important than racism. You care more about a little baby than you care about the adult.
That's true, and that is exactly true. And Jeannie, you brought up a good point. Here's the thing: all of us, particularly the ones who worked downtown Lansing, our whole thing was compromise, right? We're in the legislature, we're lobbying, we're doing whatever, but compromise is done now. And I agree. It is time and we can do it. We are capable, strong Black women. We don't have to cop an attitude, but we can get our point across and directly and clearly about what is and is not acceptable anymore. And I think we need to get to a point where we, for them to be uncomfortable, hey, at this point, that's not my issue. My issue is I need to now educate you and educate you to the fact of what you're saying is X, Y, Z, or your attitude is X, Y, Z. So the people, and we all know them, who have, voted for who shall not be named for whatever reason, whether it's the Supreme Court, whether it's abortion, whether it's the economy. And so you justify your vote for those things and then turn your back on the hate that's spewed. That is not okay anymore. And I can no longer justify that and saying, oh, he's such a good guy. She's such a good guy. So I can excuse that. No, I can't excuse that anymore because, when you do that, then you're telling them, it's okay. It's okay for you to say that he's okay. And it's not okay for you to say that he's okay anymore because he's not okay.
I definitely think that I'll just have to say this, I am so tired of the conversation about abortion and defunding Planned Parenthood and talking about birth control. Why in 2020 are we even talking about that? These are services that need to be offered. These are services that are needed. To me, I feel like it's almost like a null and void conversation. But this is what gets this is unfortunately the minuscule topic that's never going to change. Don't get me wrong. I know they have overturned it in other states, but this is a conversation that shouldn't even be a conversation. Can we be done with it? I'm so tired. Like, it gets me riled up, honestly, to talk about abortion, birth control, Planned Parenthood. I think it should be outside. So there's a lot.
And who you can love and marry. Listen,
Exactly.
You know what? Here's the thing. When we're all before the Maker, he's the one that's the overall judge. Our job is to be good people, love people, and allow people, our job, Jesus and God are going to be the ultimate judge of what's right or what's wrong. We can't go to war over that stuff anymore. We can't, Supreme Court justices, or like you said, abortion, those are personal choices, and they have to be accountable if in fact that's a sin, which I don't believe it is. That's not for us. That's for God to be for them to be accountable at the end of the day. It's not my business.
Right. And there's thousands of more issues that are way more important than abortion and birth control at this point. I feel in 2020, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that we passed that. Let's keep moving forward with it. But the issue is, like, what I was trying to also get back to is having conversations with people about why this is so wrong, or why this guy was so wrong. Is that especially, I'm in a older male dominated field. I'm a nurse practitioner. We're with a lot of white men, especially. It's a male dominated field traditionally, so you're dealing with a lot of, and so one of the conversations that would go on is, and also too, they're doctors, so they have money. So their biggest thing is protecting that tax dollar, protecting of the things they did. Oh, look at how he helped save our businesses through COVID. But if Obama would have done this, you would have had a different dialogue about how this has gone on. You would have said, look at the Democrats giving away all that money like they used to do, or how the taxes are going to change. Where do you think, how are we going to pay for this $1 trillion stimulus? Where do you think it's going to come from? So I'm so confused about why everybody thinks that this is ridiculous, that yes, we're going to have to raise taxes and we're going to have to do something. We're going to pay for all this $1 trillion stimulus. And the fact that they still want to vote for him, I said, but when they want to act like everything's equality and everything like that, I said, so is it worth your couple $100 a month, or a couple $100, whatever, how it goes, versus what's spewing out of his mouth? And the difference is that when, my personal opinion is, the difference is that when you don't have the people that look like us to go home to and talk to and be held accountable to, you can turn your blind eye to it. It's not something that's in your face, other than when you're turning on the TV or when somebody's challenging your thought. And unfortunately, that's what they get to escape to, is that they don't have to deal with it. And that's the reality of what happens. So they don't care what comes out of his mouth, because it doesn't affect their loved ones. It doesn't affect, they don't even see it in that way or matter. And they can just say, well, they're worried about their taxes. Like, you're not worried about your daughter. You're not worried about your son. You're not worried about you're not even worried about how you're advancing in your career, because you're already there. And all you're worried about is protecting your money. So I think
that's what privilege does.
Exactly.
That is what privilege does. We have breaking news. I think we got breaking news, sis. Do we have some breaking news?
We do have breaking news, ladies, while we have been on this call. Yes, there's breaking news. It's good news. This is a message from the Center for the Presidential Transition Advisory Board. There is such a thing. They have sent a letter that says the following: we congratulate Vice President Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris on their successful and historic campaign for the White House. In our role, we have observed the seriousness with which they have taken the transition planning process. They embraced transition planning earlier, recruited a seasoned and disciplined team, and resourced their transition effort commensurate with the challenges that President-elect Biden will face on January 20th. While there will be legal disputes requiring adjudication, the outcome is sufficiently clear that the transition process must now begin. Now, at the end of this, it says, now the real challenge begins. We urge the Trump administration to immediately begin the post-election transition process, and the Biden team to take full advantage of the resources available under the Presidential Transition Act. There is such a thing. the Presidential Transition Act.
Yes.
And I love this closing. Catch the shade, ladies. This was a hard-fought campaign, but history is replete with examples of presidents who emerged from such campaigns to graciously assist their successors. Quote, "Your success now is our country's success," end quote. George H.W. Bush wrote in 1993 to the incoming president who involuntarily retired him, end quote. "I am rooting hard for you," quote. Now, this is something that you all have to understand. This is huge. This is huge. This is huge. This is a nonpartisan body, okay? As we've also been talking, the Biden-Harris team has released their transition plan. I encourage each of you to read it. They have released their transition plan. We'll be able to look at that. All of those, both of those two.
I know, you see, I got mine right here. I was like, click, click, click.
I didn't even know how you got the hot updates.
Right,
I don't have that.
I didn't get that. I'm looking like,
I stay plugged. I stay plugged, baby. I stay plugged.
I don't have nothing.
But you know, we have to remember things like it. I mean, I guess we should be very grateful that Vice President or President-elect Biden has a vast international background and cachet, because he has those relationships that he can reach out to other leaders and say, you know, look, I know that he was crazy, but you know me, you know what I'm about, and we're real sorry. That helps us on the international stage with our diplomats, because that's what scares me the most, is that we've been friends with, I don't understand how that man who we shall not name is friends with China, and then we'll blame them about bringing the corona, and then we'll blame them about trade. Well, they can't be your friend and you hate them at the same time. That's a dysfunctional relationship. I just, you know, again, I'm really happy that that Biden, one of the things he mentioned is reaching out to his friends. I know we didn't mention it during this call, but if you look at some of the international leaders, immediately, we're just like, welcome back, America. Justin Trudeau.
Immediately.
Oh, yeah.
When CNN called it, it was like, hey.
Ringing the bells.
You know that Canada, I actually looked at this. Canada, Justin Trudeau waited 15 minutes after the numbers came in to be like, hey, Joe Biden, glad to see you. I mean, 15 minutes. He waited long. I waited longer than he did. I want to double check. He's like, it's good enough for me. Let's go.
Baby, I'm telling you.
Well, let me do a time check real quick, ladies. It's 8. In Chicago, it's 8:19. It's 9:19 where you are. Is people still with us? Or you want to continue to go? Do you have to go? We're just trying to make sure.
Yeah, I just need to wrap up. You guys can continue. I have to get up earlier. Would you ladies?
Nurse Michelle. Yes.
All right, Nurse Michelle.
I stand for like 10 minutes, like 10 more minutes or something like that. But
just mute out when you go ahead and get your water and come on back on in.
So we have a game that we want to play. So as you know, and Letitia, your breaking news was perfect for this transition. When a new administration comes on, there are people who are working in the old administration and in the White House and in other positions that are around. Some of them will make their own way out, but others will need to be put out. So we're going to play a game called Fired First.
Oh, yes.
We want to know, who do you think should be fired first?
I got a tag.
From the current administration. Janita, you already did the ooh. I'm going to go to you. Who do you think should be fired first?
Simultaneously, I got a tie. Barr and DeVos. Betsy got to go, but keep that student loan in place. Now, I need that reprieve. But she got to be tossed, And Barr needs to go. You are not the attorney general for me in the American public. I need a AG that understands that you are here to defend us and not the president of the United States. You invite him, but you here to defend us. So those my two at the top of the list. At the top of the list, they got to go. Barr got to go to jail, and Betsy just got to go because she's destroying education. So I'm sorry. I had to jump in. I'm like, ooh, what a buzzer.
Yes. Nurse Michelle.
I totally agree with Betsy DeVos. She needs to go. We don't even know how she got there.
Money.
She was never qualified to be there. She's got to go.
Okay, so we have 2 for DeVos and 1 for Barr. Sister Pat, fired first. Who should go?
They can group together because they all related. Ivanka, her 2 brothers, and her husband.
Oh, yeah.
All got to get out because Melania already gone. That moving truck was already up in the White House. She already gone. So I don't need to say nothing about her. Melania already gone. But them other ones, so that's number 1. And 2, bless his heart, even though he ain't there. If I never see Rudy Giuliani again, it'll be too soon.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
The pervert. Oops, did I say that out loud?
Well, the truth now.
You spoke your truth, sis. We can't, refute your truth now. So
we're not even sure that Melania ever moved in.
Thank you. Hello. That's true.
Did y'all see the fake Melania?
Oh, her body double.
Did you
she did them red Christmas trees. She was there for a hot minute to say she hates Christmas and then put them nasty Christmas trees up there. So she was there for a little bit.
He was there to say, I hate Christmas.
And that's what I think of your Christmas.
I just can't even. And to get her parents from Slovenia
there you go.
A chain migration. That's what she did.
So Kendra, fired first. Who got to go?
Mm-hmm. This person is so bad, I don't even know their names. I'm just going to tell you what they do. The fool who is, I mentioned earlier about our status in the world internationally, but the person who is the Secretary of State today, because they be running, he running people. So whoever that person is today, I don't know who that person was yesterday or last work, that person says, I don't know who you are. You haven't really developed a relationship. You got to go. I also think we haven't mentioned one person who was able to keep his job that I don't know how he did it. Detroit owned Ben
he
Carson.
wasn't there. He didn't know what was going on. He was too busy trying to buy furniture in Hood. That's what he thought Hood was. The housing department.
He don't know. He don't know. He don't know what's going on.
Yeah. But when he said Oreos, here's the thing that got me. When that wonderful Congresswoman from California, who was the former student of Elizabeth Warren, she would question people. When she questioned what's his name? Ben Carson, and she said Oreos. He thought it meant the cookie, and she's like, no. That's a funding mechanism by which public housing. He didn't
there
know
you
this.
go.
He gotta go.
His wife tried to buy that ugly table, though. I was mad at her for that.
That's what they thought Hood was.
Sis.
Child, he was never here for all our skin folks. And
I feel bad about saying that about a brother.
We did a song about it. Skin folk ain't always kin folk.
Skin folk ain't always kin folk.
Ain't always kin folk. we got a whole song about it.
All right. I got to get the words.
Sis, fire first. Who got to go?
Baby, that Betsy DeVos needs to go. That box of rocks for brains has gotten on my last nerves. I don't know why no caricature or cartoon satirist has not drawn her sitting at a table with her eyes crossed and a bunch of bats just circling around, running into each other, looking confused, because that's the vibe she gives me. if don't nobody else lose their job, I want Betsy DeVos to know that 75 million people is tired of your uneducated, unqualified behind. Now, side note, everybody want to talk about affirmative action, but we're not going to talk about how these white women with no experience, they wasn't even on the bench, baby. They straight came from the kitchen, breastfeeding their kids to the table with a brand new title in charge of stuff. Betsy DeVos has been one of the more hurtful insults. As a woman who has a PhD, who earned her degree, I'm just pissed that she was even put in charge. So she definitely got to go. And number 2, you've already mentioned him, but I'll give him the other name that I call him by, Uncle Ben Tom. Uncle Ben Tom got to go. Uncle Ben Tom has done nothing but set Negroes back. If he could understand what his job really was, I don't know if they told him that housing was, some kind of surgery that they needed. I don't know. His brilliance, something happened to that man. Is it crack? What?
No, I know what it is. I can speak on this. I come from a family of, I actually come, my late aunt and uncle my uncle was a surgeon in Detroit and worked with him. And he had a brain aneurysm. No, he really did have a brain aneurysm. And when you have that kind of, whatever it was that kind of injury where you're in you can't be a surgeon any longer. So if you can imagine that you are trained to do one thing with technical precision and you can't do anymore. So they decided, what could have been better if they had put him as a surgeon general, because then he wouldn't be a surgeon, but he could tap into his medical experience, which no one can debate. Nobody can debate that.
Oh, I forgot all about him. I'm like, there was a Negro in the White House.
And nobody mentioned that poor Surgeon General. I feel so bad for him.
I feel sorry for that brother, because you done messed up your reputation, because he actually is
experience and background.
Yeah, and I'm mad because you done tied yourself to the wrong horse.
When the crackheads and the drunks come in,
your credibility is shot. I'm just like, yeah.
You know what? You're going to find him at a 24-hour ready care, working the 1 to 3 a.m. shift, doing flu shots. Exactly. After the party. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Somebody hit somebody on the head and he going to be doing stitches. That's all he going to get a job at. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because they're not going to help him get transitioned.
Right. He gonna be doing rapid COVID tests. Well, speaking from the medical perspective, this is who I need to go ahead and get gone. Because we already saw what he did in Indiana, and him supposed to have been in charge of how we managed our COVID response.
Attracted to death, girl.
We need that thing. And I don't know if he's still even alive, because that fly had sat there with precision and just was like, this is familiar territory. But Mike Pence gotta go, because I am convinced that if we had at least a responsible vice president who could have managed our COVID response, we would not still be in as deep stuff. I was about to curse, Lord, that took the words from me. Deep stuff that we are in. Thank you, sis. I appreciate that we are in reference to our public health around this virus. We needed someone responsible in a leadership position to help to guide and dictate. And even if our president was an idiot, if we had a voice of calm and reason and honesty so that people could prepare themselves and do whatever, we had none of that. He's a coward. He is racist. His humanness is a little questionable. And I understand that you have your own religious beliefs, your own spirituality. You are entitled to that. But trying to evoke your feelings about your God onto other people and try to use legislation and power to dictate and mandate how things go is just not responsible from a governance perspective. I heard who was it? I believe it was the Secretary of State. It may be in Florida, maybe in Arizona, I'm not sure. One of the reporters had asked her and said, you publicly spoke out against the current president. How can you run the election? And she said, when I was a private citizen, I could say whatever I want to say. But when I was elected into this position, I was put here to govern our democracy. And as the person who is responsible for voting in this state, it is my duty to not look at Republican or Democrat, but to ensure that the people of this state that has cast their vote and cast it legally, that it's counted. I never trusted Pence. I knew when he was appointed as the running mate for the current not to be named person, that he was not going to be helpful. And not that the vice president has as much power, depending upon who the president is, but you better believe that Sister Kamala occupying this current space, I believe is going to show us what a vice president should do. So Pence got to go. Pence got to go. Pence got to go.
Now, I have a question for Nurse Michelle before you leave. I am very concerned. In Michigan next week, we begin shotgun deer season. And the reason I'm very concerned about that is traditionally people, when they do, they go hunting, they travel from different parts of the state into rural areas together and closely, drink and hang out and whatnot. And then they go back home. And then that following week is Thanksgiving. I don't understand why no one is talking about this. That is a super spreader to the fifth power. I understand that in a lot of urban areas, we don't have that many people who don't do firearm deer season. Although, side note, I need you to come to East Lansing because I'm tired of all these deer running around here like they own things. But I want your opinion, since we don't really have any leadership about that. That, to me, no one is talking about that. That concerns me, the proximity of firearm deer season and Thanksgiving. Now, we need the firearm deer season, especially during lockdown, because those deer were just running like, we wanted things now. And it's just nuts. I want to know your opinion. Am I crazy by thinking about this?
No, I think every gathering should be questioned for sure, and what people are doing in that gathering. Now, I don't know that more like large gatherings about hunting season. A lot of times it is in more smaller gatherings where people go. I don't think it's 50 people going to go hunt together or anything like that. Usually it's like a group of friends going up. I don't ever believe, but I don't know that much about how many. What I've seen in the past historically, it's not more, I can't give you a specific number, but it's not 50 people going up there together to get together and go hunting, because they wouldn't ever catch deer if there's that many people going. So I think it is typically, and I'm not a hunter, but typically in smaller groups. I think that at this point, everybody needs to be vigilant about what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what's going on. I think people still need to wear their mask. I have a chronically ill father who I've already been COVID tested, not for my job, because mind you, don't think that healthcare workers have to get tested, because we don't. The only reason I have been tested twice is because of my own doing, not because I have anything else. They are not testing us. So part of that is being vigilant about that, knowing what your exposure has been, knowing what it is and who you're going to be around. I feel like prior to Thanksgiving, I just got tested because it was Halloween. I was going to be around my father who has chronic illnesses and also around the teenagers and kids. So I took it upon myself to get tested so I could feel better going and hanging out around all of them. And I probably, again, will get tested before Thanksgiving to go, because I'm in the hospitals. Plus I take tennis lessons. There's a lot of other things that go on. Also, just something as simple as going to Kroger, walking into CVS, walking into a gas station, it's so tricky. We still just don't know enough that how do you know the person that right before you walked in there didn't have their mask off that was sneezing and coughing, and then you walk into this? It's just so, the exposure is just so tricky. How do you know it's not your niece or nephew that you've been around this in-person schooling that are around their friends who are, yes, they are quarantined, but you don't know who they're around. Everybody is as quarantined as you think you are, that you are still, each person, you're still exposed to hundreds of people, basically. So I think it's very hard to say. I understand exactly what your question is, but I don't know enough about hunting and how they, like, a lot of times it's not large gatherings or anything. If it is outside.
But they go inside to have drinks and eat.
Absolutely.
And they travel from one part of the state to another part of the state, and then come back and travel another part of the state for Thanksgiving.
What was that number, Janita?
It's not the large gatherings with.
Yeah.
It's for them to eat and drink, they're going to be inside, and that to me is problematic.
Yeah, we hit 6,000 people in one day.
Wow.
It was like 6,035 on November the 5th. I just know the date. November the 5th, we had a record high number of new COVID cases in the state. We broke our first record.
Right. You know what? And I think one of the reasons, being a Michigan State fan, I mean, do I love that we beat Michigan in football? Especially because it was the first beating of Michigan with a black coach. Yeah, loved it. But it was also Halloween. And I was like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. But I had to go out to get my medicine because I don't know why I didn't think about getting it beforehand.
Here we go.
So I had to go to East Lansing to get my prescription because the pharmacy was going to close. And people were wearing masks, but they were wearing costumes. And they thought that those costumes without a mask on their face was going to protect them. And I said, oh, here we go. And Janita, when you said November 5th, Halloween was October 31st. I think there's going to be another one next week for all the fools who are just now feeling that. Because East Lansing was crazy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, well, in Chicago, we had the same thing. So last week, the mayor closed and the governor closed everything down. So all of the in-restaurant eating and everything, put the curfew back in place for 2 weeks because people were losing their mind and just kind of acting like it's all over, that there are people that are still not, getting sick. And it's happening, and people are, I just heard of someone recently who's been dating, like going on dates with different people, not just like dating a person. I think that we are all, especially Chicago, in the, Michigan, in the Detroit area, there's just those hot spots that even the scientists who have projected, because again, there's going to come a time where this is going to spread out and actually diminish. It'll be similar to kind of what the flu is. It'll be a pattern. We'll know when it's coming. We'll know when it's going. And so they've projected out which regions are going to eliminate it from being pandemic crisis state. They've put Chicago and Detroit well into August of next year. I'm like, you.
They're already that bad. I disagree. I disagree with you, and this is the reason I disagree. I think college towns, I think the home of Michigan State, which the president is an epidemiologist, he does not play. I think Ann Arbor, who their president is, he's a doctor in some sort of infectious disease.
That's the plan.
Those two communities, I think, are going to be far worse than Detroit. because even though the students are online, some of the students, the undergrads are online, the graduate students are in East Lansing, and quite frankly, other students are like, you know what? I signed a lease in East Lansing, and I can't get rid of it, so my mama's making me leave, and I'm gonna be out here wilding.
Well, most of the college students I know that already have went back, they've already got it. Yeah. They've already had it. That's why I'm saying that every young person I know, and these are colleagues that have college students and friends, every person who sent their child back to school, they've already had it. They've had it, and they are now in recovery. So I think that they're doing herd immunity in the college towns. So when we get to next year, I think that they won't be a factor. It's us who have actually been being responsible and staying inside who will be the ones that will be most at risk, because we have not been anywhere, and our immunity is compromised too, because now all of the antigens and all the things that we normally put ourselves through in the world that helps to build our own immunity, we haven't been out to do that. We've been in our house. Ain't no immunity up in here, child. Ain't no antigens happening up in here.
No. Now, one thing I have been doing, I'm proud to announce this. I actually, before the election, between lockdown and mid-October, I lost 33 pounds. Now, after the election, I will tell you, I did stress it with the elections. I got some hot chocolate popcorn with my name on it. And I have been, and during we have nice weather in Michigan, I've walked 10 miles in the last 3 days. So when I figure I'm gonna get out, that's what I consider outside. I'm like, I got my little boots on for the wintertime. I'm gonna be a walking fool until I fall on the ground and hurt myself, or until there's ice. So that's what I've been doing, because you're right. Staying inside isn't good, but as long as I'm outside and I'm not on crowded areas, it's actually good for you.
I've done walks too, Janita, so let me know. I'm around the corner.
Okay, Kendra, I'm not to join you to walk, because I need to do something. So just let me know. We can walk in the distance. I'll be behind you, but I just need a walking partner.
I was walking with 2 people who had 2 dogs, and, it wasn't a problem,
When nobody on no doggone diet, none of this week, people who wasn't drinking had bottles popped. People who ain't never lit a match was smoking back. The dispensary, the line was out the damn street. All right? They had to tell the people, come on over here. You're holding up traffic. Now get your stuff and get over here. The dispensary was packed, baby. But I mean, folk been coping the way they gonna cope. Speaking of coping, ladies, we have really, y'all have gotten our time, and we have gotten yours. I told you it was gonna go fast. I'm like, an hour. I don't know if I got an hour. But look, you almost had 2. True. I wasn't gonna tell them it was you. I wasn't gonna tell them.
Yep. I lost it. I didn't do well during the election, but still, I was one of the few people who lost weight and I stress eat.
I got a wedding dress that I'm still trying to get into, that the people, I keep lying to them and telling this due to COVID that I ain't coming to try it on.
Girl, I all the liquor I drank.
Since the 90s, I'm looking like, you've been a church mouse. I missed that part. I missed that period.
That was me. That was me. Shame it, that was me.
Whoa.
I did. I said it. I did. Yeah,
yes.
That's what you get when you turn 50. It's a whole nother. The filter is gone. With 49, it was there. When I turned 50, I woke up, my ARP card came, and my filter was gone.
Right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up yet another edition of the Pisces Life. We thank all of you for joining us today and giving us your truth and speaking truth to power for this post-election Kee. We'll go around and allow you to share, if you like, where people can find you, if people want to connect with you. We'll start with you, Miss Pat. If folks are looking for you out here in these interwebs, where can they find you at?
Look for me on Facebook at Patricia Spitzley for Lansing, because there's going to be some announcements coming up. So I just want y'all to follow my page.
Yes. Sister Janita Moore, where can they find you at?
I'm in the witness protection program, so no, just joking. But of course, always you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook in my government name, so you can find me. You can find me. So that's the part. But yes, you can find me. I am listed under my government name because I have to be visible for certain things. But
Absolutely. Yes. We understand. Nurse Michelle, anything you would like to share?
Sure. I'm on Instagram at LionsK01.
Perfect. Thank you. And Sister Kendra.
I'll give two of mine. LinkedIn, there is Kendra L. Howard. There are various Kendra Howards out there. So it's very important you put the Kendra Kendra L. Howard, because there's actually a couple Kendra L. Howards out there, and that's kind of a challenge. So that's the best way.
Awesome. Sis, if they are looking for you, where can they find you at?
They can find me counting up the sheep in my sleep from the days that I missed watching this election. Because I tell you, tonight, I'm going to sleep like I have been out to pasture for 40 years. I'm going to get that sleep tonight. But they can find me still tweeting snarky stuff, feeling myself at IamJust, Letitia, Letitia, everywhere. And sis, if they are looking for you, where can they find you?
They can find me doing my best TikTok choreography too. You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Hey, they can find me on Twitter at KaiLovesYou, KaiLovesu. If you are looking for me on Instagram, just add a 2 to that. KaiLovesYou too. It's been wonderful, ladies. Stay vigilant.
Thank you.
And we will see you the next time. Thank you. Peace, y'all.
Thank you for inviting me. This was wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Two fish living in
Bye-bye.